Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I'm sorry it has been a while due to moving, and in today's video we're going to be doing something different from normal and hope to answer the age-old question, which fans are the best? Although there are many great fans available to buy from many reputable brands, there is one question you need to ask yourself first. What am I using the fans for? For example, am I using the fans to blow air in or out of a case with little to no airflow restrictions, i.e., is the fan I want to use going to pull fresh air in through a high airflow front panel, or is it a tempered glass or a solid metal panel with ventilation down the sides? Is it an open air chassis or open air but pushing and pulling air through a radiator? All these scenarios determine what style of optimization your fan should be. There are two different kinds of PC fans, static pressure fans and high airflow fans. Some fans occupy a sort of hybrid position, offering both high airflow and at least decent static pressure, but those fans are a bit harder to come by and generally more expensive. In today's video we were asked to take a look at the Thermaltake Tough 12s that are optimized slightly more towards static pressure than high airflow, and compare them against other popular fans and those of similar performance on paper, showing results of the cooling potential of each fan at their different rated speeds. To simplify the tests, we chose fans like the Tough Fan 12s that are PWM controlled through the 4-pin motherboard header to get a more accurate reading of the fan speed and also monitor the temperature of our CPU using one piece of software, HW Info. To determine the speeds of the fans, we opted for the easiest method of fixing a fan curve profile, which is through the motherboard BIOS, using the silent, standard, performance and full speed profiles, which will most likely be what the average light tinkerer or newbie would opt to use, or for those who don't like to use additional software, of course. So the tests were all performed in our open air test bench using the trusty X470 gaming ITX motherboard, Ryzen 5 3600 CPU, 32GB of Ballistix 3600MHz RAM, 1TB NVMe, and the cooler selected was the Tough Air 310, which is pretty much your run-of-the-mill single tower CPU cooler. So with an ambient room temperature of 19 degrees, we kick things off with the Tough Fan 12's performance. Starting with the silent profile whilst idle, we can see the CPU hit 34.1 degrees with speeds between 500 and 1900 RPM, which is smack bang in the middle with zero noise coming from the fan, only 0.7 degrees lower than the GIM HP12, which costs $9.98 on Amazon. Of course, the Noctua NF-A 12x25 took the gold here with 26.6, but surprisingly was the Silverstone Air Penetrator 120i Pro very close behind at 28.2 degrees at £24 per fan. What did shock me though was the very popular Corsair SP120 RGB Elite came in second last with a toasty 41.6 degrees at 496 to 1200 RPM. Onto the gaming results, this looks pretty much neck and neck across the board, with the Tough Fan 12s hitting 77.6 degrees C, but taking gold for this was the Iceberg Thermal iScale Extra, getting a great result of 71.7 degrees C at 690 to 2200 RPM, but this was also the loudest out of all of the fans tested. Sitting right in the middle was the Fractal Design Dynamic X2 GP-12 with 74.3 degrees C at 740 to 1700 RPM, costing only £18.96 per fan and being Amazon's choice. Next up, using the standard profile this time, at idle the Tough Fan 12s hit 32.5 degrees C, running at 900 to 1900 RPM. However, losing to the Alaska Viper that got 26.5 degrees C at 700 to 1500 RPM, a fan that usually costs £12 here in the UK. Unfortunately, the Fractal Design Dynamic X2 GP12 with 43.1 degrees C took last place, and good result for the Tough Fan 12s holding up the middle of the pack. Now for the gaming temps, the Tough Fan 12s hit 75.6 degrees C at 900 to 1900 RPM. And taking gold is the Iceberg Thermal iScale Extra with 70.1 degrees C and at an increasing noise level at speeds of 1400 to 2600 RPM. Taking last place this time was the Apacer Soho AR with 75.9 degrees C at 1000 to 1800 RPM. The Noctua NF-S112B Redux is sitting pretty here in the middle for this one with 73.4 degrees C at 1200 to 1300 RPM. Moving on to the performance mode profile, once again the Tough Fan 12 holds up the middle of the pack with an idle temperature of 30.06 degrees C at 1100 to 1900 RPM, whereas the Arctic P12 DNF'd due to a maximum fan speed limitation. So the Sahara Gaming Private Eye takes last place in this one with 37.7 degrees C at 1000 to 1400 RPM. Oddly enough, it was the Noctua NF-S112B Redux which took the gold here with 26.7 degrees C at 1200 to 1300 RPM, so it looks like we have found the sweet spot for the Redux. The gaming temps saw the Corsair SP120 RGB Elite come in last place with 76.4 degrees C at 1100 to 1300 RPM. Again, the Tough Fan 12 performs well and is no match for the Iceberg Thermal iScale Extra, which took gold with 70.1 degrees C at 1800 to 2500 RPM, but with a headache-inducing noise level. Finally, onto the full speed profile. At idle, we continue the trend with the Tough Fan 12 performing well and still very quietly in the middle of the pack with 29.5 degrees C at 2000 to 2100 RPM. Another DNF from the Arctic P12 put the Iceberg Thermal iScale RGB into last place with 36.8 degrees C at 2000 to 2100 RPM. Taking gold again is the Noctua NF-A12X25 with a chilly 26.4 degrees C at 1900 to 2000 RPM. Gaming temps won't surprise you, with the Tough Fan 12 keeping up the middle of the pack with its great price to performance with a 73.6 degrees C at 2000 to 2100 RPM. Again, a DNF for the Arctic P12, which pushed the Sahara Gaming Pirate Eye into last place with 75.4 degrees C at 1400 RPM. And taking first place is a draw? Hang on, let me check that. Yes folks, you heard that right. It boiled down to 0.1 of a degree between the Noctua NF-A12X25 with 70.0 degrees C at 1900 to 2000 RPM and the iScale Thermal iScale Extra with 69.9 degrees C at 2900 RPM. Who'da knew? So conclusion time. The Tough Fan 12s are, in my opinion, the perfect middle ground between price to performance. At £12.49 they offer great performance and a very low noise level. Aesthetically, the Tough Fan 12s look better than most of the fans with this selection and can be used in most builds, themed or not, and arguably one of the best hybrid fans available on the market. So if you liked this video, hit like. If you loved it, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.